Hello everyone, and this is a video that I have done before, but unfortunately there was some issues with the audio, so I had to redo it because I've gotten some comments that you guys wanted to actually be able to hear the video, which I guess I understand. This is a case that is really close to me. I was not alive during this case, so it's a little bit different, but it is close to my hometown, and it's something that they still talk about to this day. Now, this is the case of Nathan Brooks, who told people that he was a Satanist, and he murdered his mother and father, and decapitated his father's head and put it in a punch bowl, and he told everyone that it was because of Satanist reasons. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't think anybody can really verify that because nobody really knows what was going through his head at the time, but it certainly scared the people around where I live, and they changed a lot of things because of him. And I would like to get more in detail about this case, so I will begin with the research. Nathan Brooks, a 17-year-old student of Blair High School, was apprehended by officers at an undisclosed Blair residence not long after he slaughtered his parents. Media outlets reported that he told then-Sheriff Tom McCourt, "People don't understand." He said he tried to talk to people. He's a very intelligent young man and very well read. There's a fine line between madness and genius. So, from what I've read, is that he did try to reach out and get help. I don't know if that's exactly what he means by this, but I hope it is, because that would make me feel a little bit better. Brooks is prisoner number A337726 today at the London Correctional Institution in London, Ohio. It's a facility that rests west of Columbus, 150 miles away from where Brooks, at the age of 17, murdered his parents inside the rural homestead on September 30th, 1995. Oh wait, I was alive during this. I was just 2 years old. Sorry. He shot his father, 53-year-old Terry, in the head 3 times at point-blank range with a hunting rifle before he decapitated him at the base of his neck with a hacksaw and placed the head in a punch bowl. He also used an axe and a knife to murder his mother, 52-year-old Marilyn, who had returned the day before from a trip to Florida. Nathan's brother Ryan was 16 at the time of the murders. The young man, who now resides in the Columbus area, discovered his parents' bodies when returning home in the early morning hours of the next day. The officers going in and out of the house, however, appeared stunned. They saw Terry's head in the punch bowl, his eyes closed. When the evidence photos were taken, samples discovered the father's headless body in his bed, arms above his torso, and blood spattered throughout the bedroom. The deputies saw Nathan's mother still covered by a blood-soaked comforter in her twin bed, with a long knife deeply embedded in her right side above the waist, and they see that she has also been chopped with an axe. Her son had left a ball-peen hammer at the bottom of that bed, too. The punch bowl holding Terry's severed head rested on a wooden chair in the living room. A collage of satanic images hung on Nathan's bedroom wall, and deputies also found the rifle, the axe, and knives. There's also a list of names left behind. Now, what they're saying in this part is that Nathan actually had a plan of murdering more than just his parents. From what I've been told over the years was that he had his list, and then he was going to shoot up the local Burger King. Now, like I said, I can't positively, say that's true, and I can't really deny it either, because I don't have the ability to talk to him or, be from that. I was too young at that age to be able to actually, read the papers and all that good stuff. But, from what we were told, we were pretty close to a very bad massacre, and that we're lucky that he was stopped at just his parents. And because of the Satanist portion of it, the town's officials canceled trick or treat, and no one else could have been involved with, and no one knew if who else could be involved with Nathan Brooks. Now, so far as we know, there was no one involved, but that's just what the evidence points to. We can't know 100% for sure. Everyone was worried that these devil worshippers would do something to the kids. No one knew for sure. No one knew that satanic stuff was taking place around here. It was scary. Everyone was hearing rumors that there was a list, and no one knew who may have been on that list. Even though they had Nathan in custody, there could be others involved. We were all very frightened at what was possible. There's been some people that went to school with Nathan, and they've had some things to say, so I will read those now. A classmate and friend of Nathan said she was shocked because he had never mentioned anything about it, and he didn't try to recruit her. They would sit together in the library and talk about school and talk about their classmates, but she says she never mentioned wanting to kill anyone. His father, Terry, was a mailman at the time, and he and I would talk sometimes because he said he was concerned about his kids and how they were doing in school. I got the impression that he put a lot of pressure on those boys when their grades were concerned, but I had no idea that's the reasons why Nathan did what he did. From what I read earlier, it seems that his parents weren't in a very stable marriage, because it said they were sleeping in different beds. So and his mom just returned from a trip to Florida by herself, so I don't know how much of a basis that had to do with anything. From what I just read was that his father was a bit of a pressure kind of parent, so maybe the reason why he killed his father is because he put too much pressure on him. I can't validate that, of course, but that's one of the theories anyway. Or at least that can be a theory. A jury of 6 men and 6 women found Brooks guilty on 2 charges of aggravated murder and of using a firearm in the commission of a felony. Deliberations in the double murder case took under 3 hours to complete, a time frame attorneys often agree bodes well for likelihood a jury will return a guilty verdict. After the verdict was announced, Judge Charles Knapp asked for a polling on the record to affirm it was a unanimous decision. It was. Brooks is not eligible for his parole hearing until July 2038. Something that also was said is everybody paid attention to that trial every single day and in every single newspaper article. Everyone wanted to know if they were on the list because of all the rumors about it. We wanted to know about the satanic worshiping too, because before the murders, no one thought it was possible around here. No one was surprised with the results of the trial. I just think people wanted more of the details, so we all knew what to be watching for in case there were more involved. Now, like it said, there's been no reported activity of Satanists around Blair, or before he was arrested, or since. So, who knows? Now, I'm going to tell you about the list that he wrote. Several expert witnesses testified that the reality of an unexpected turn of events made Brooks stray from his chosen plan and may well have saved his younger brother's life and the lives of others who were included on what came to be called his kill list. In large part, the general public had little patience for suggestions that Nathan Brooks had formulated such a list. Now, this is a big thing because this is why there is a lot of publicity and things going into kids that do make hit lists or kill lists. Now, around here, it's a very big deal because of stuff like this and because, basically they're saying they want to hurt people. But it seems like a big thing around here, so anybody that's even remotely even thought of having a list, they are searched, they are all their stuff is taken, and they are sent to, I believe, Sargus, and they're just trying to keep this from happening again. Okay. Initially, law enforcement said reports of such lists were false. But during the trial, the public learned there was in fact such a kill list and that it contained a total of 16 names. The list was said to have his brother named as the first planned victim. I secured the Nathan's plan of attack does exist, and that next to his brother's Ryan's name are the words dismember and decapitate. Mother and father are listed second and third on the roster. Eviscerate, crucify are next to his mother's names. Decapitate is beside his father's name. But who else was on the list? Were there 16 or 19 names? No one knew for sure at that time, but now it can be confirmed that 13 first names, including 3 of 4 immediate family members, are scribbled on a notebook piece of paper on the same page Brooks has written times, all of which had been crossed out, and he had drawn a sketch of Satan and a pentagram. He also jotted Satan will show you piece at the top of the page. The names that are still legible on the photos are first names only. No surnames were included by the convicted murderer. In order, those names are the following: Amber, Lisa, Justin, Jason, Ryan, Dave, Corey, Jill, Mike, and Ashley. Next to some of the names is molest, some next to others skin. After 2 names of females, dismember, eviscerate, 2 names are crossed out, and no times are listed next to those deleted entries. It is apparent from this piece of paper that Brooks planned to carry out the killings both individually and in groups. Amber and Lisa are listed together as Jason, Ryan, and Dave. Ashley and one of the scratched out would-be victims are grouped as well. The entire Upper Valley paid much attention to Brooks' trial, but it was the residents of Blair that did not know what to expect, even with the murderer behind bars. So for those people, I'm glad that their surnames are not posted in the article themselves, because I don't think that they want to be publicly known as possible victims of this case, and that's just something they know, because personally I would much rather just know that I was saved from possibly being murdered and not everybody else because of copycats and people that like to hurt people, especially who are already suffering, who want to impede upon that hurt, can and will bother these people, and I think that's absolutely horrific. They've already been through something that nobody should have to go through, and now that then they would have to deal with that again. So, now I'm going to go on about the trial. Brooks was not the sort of 17-year-old whose outward demeanor demanded the attention of those around him. However, that reality was forever changed in the early morning hours of September 30th, 1995. Brooks was the middle of 3 children born to Terry and Marilyn Brooks, all boys. At the age of 17, he slaughtered his parents as they lay in bed at a modest family home located in the hills above the all-American town of Blair. Looking back on the tragic situation, it's all too safe to say Brooks got his 5 minutes of fame, but the extreme brutality of the crime sent shockwaves across all communities in the Ohio Valley. Belmont County Judge Charles Knapp said, "We know it wasn't an easy task, but for whatever it's worth, the court agrees with your verdict." Knapp then expressed his opinion of Brooks' crimes by opposing the maximum sentence allowable under Ohio Revised Code. By the end of the business day on October 27, 1996, convicted killer Nathan Brooks had become an inmate of the Ohio prison system, ultimately being assigned to serve out a sentence in the maximum security environment at the prison in Lucasville. He will not be eligible for parole hearing until he has served at least 43 years of his sentence, guilty of 2 counts of aggravated murder and of a single gun specification. What may have saved the youngest of Terry and Marilyn Brooks' children was Ryan's decision to attend a football game and then spend the night at the home of a friend. It was even revealed the killer had walked the distance to the home of the friend with whom his younger brother was spending the evening, and actually letting him a note fixed to a household wall with a knife. The youngest of the Brooks boys had not been found there by his brother. nor had anyone been home when Brooks arrived at the home looking for his brother. "This is Nathan. I murdered 2 people and I'm going to turn myself in," he said in the note. The nature of the crime was made even more gruesome and disturbing when, through courtroom testimony, details of just how Brooks actually went about murdering his parents was shared with the jurors. Without fail, during the trial, Brooks was routinely escorted everywhere by a 6-person or more heavily armed law enforcement detail. Knapp had never been one to allow overt drama to have any place in operations of his courtroom, and despite the highly dramatic nature of these crimes, he maintained that standard whenever possible. But Nathan Brooks was different. The methods employed by Brooks to murder his parents were especially gruesome, so much so that court officials decided not to allow the public to view images of the carnage at the crime scene. Belmont County Public Defender Jim Nielsen's, I don't know how to pronounce that, singular point of argument during the trial was that the teen was insane at the time of the murders. 3 experts brought unto the proceedings were split specifically on the point of whether or not Brooks had been insane at the time of the murders. Thus, it was impossible for him to be held to a standard knowing right from wrong in his actions. There was never any effort at the trial by either side to say Brooks was not responsible for the murder of his parents. But it did happen 2 decades ago, and in 2011, permission was granted for an evidence review to an individual conducting a clinical case of the murder and trial for a book project. No such volume has been published as of today. There's been a lot of anger and frustration inside of that day, I would think, to do what Nathan did the way he did it. Something had to be seriously wrong in that house. A person said, somebody else that lives in Blair, I'm sorry. "In one way, I feel sorry for him because he'll never see the light of day again, and all he has to do in prison is think about what he did and why he did it forever." Something had to happen, that's my theory anyway. I think most people in Blair would agree with me. But it still haunts Blair, I can tell you that. Now, I do not agree with her. Something doesn't have to happen. Normally it will, but it shouldn't have to. This murder, even though it happened over 20 years ago, it still bothers people, of course, but it also changed the way the people in Blair behave. They started locking their doors, of course, because it is a small town. Nobody ever thinks that these things happen, but they do. And the fact that a teenager could go so off the rails to want to do this, and as of we now have a normal upbringing, it's something that it's hard to think about. Blair still doesn't like to. They don't really like to celebrate Halloween. Well, they do, but they don't like the kids to go out trick-or-treating. Ever since the murders, they started having police presence all over town on Halloween. They've set up different groups and stuff that hold little get-togethers for kids and stuff down at the park in Blair, so that way the kids wouldn't go around trick-or-treating. They could just go get their stuff from them and come back home safely. It seems kind of weird to me that he tried to go with this Satanist thing, mainly because there's been no proof of it. There's been no one else coming forward with anybody saying, how he was a Satanist, or other people being arrested for being Satanists around him. And I think it was just really a ploy because he wanted to seem like a hardened criminal, which he is. But he wanted to seem like he was big and bad, and that doing what he did wasn't enough, which I think is totally wrong. What he did was more than enough, and the people that survived are lucky to survive. And I don't know if he would have continued with his plans if he would have gotten very far on his list or even shot up any places, but I'm glad that we don't have to know that, and that he is still in prison where he needs to be, and I hope he stays there for the rest of his life. I don't think he should get out. When you're 17 and you're making these kind of adult decisions, you have to deal with the adult consequences. And I don't think people understand that. You see a lot of these kids that harm other kids or murder people, they get off because, oh, well, their brains aren't developed enough to realize what they're doing. But the people that do these things, they also cover it up. So obviously they know it's wrong. Anyway, I'm going off on a rant. I hope you got everything that you needed from this video. Of course, there's always different articles and web pages that you can read if I did not go over something you wanted to know. Most of my information I did get off an article. So that's why it's written kind of weird, and I had to add in some things here and there because it's not just from one person's point of view, it's from many. But I hope in the future our town becomes stronger and we start to realize that, you know, we do have to be careful. We do have to watch people. But that doesn't mean that you can't trust anyone. Because this town has gone downhill a lot since everything that happened. And I think that if we came together and tried to make a difference, it might actually work. But I don't know. I'm only 24 years old, so I don't really know all the ins and outs of stuff. But I at least wanted to give my opinion. Any of the other videos that I made that you cannot hear the audio correctly, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video. Well, kind of weird to enjoy a murder story, but you know what I mean. And if there's any other stories you want me to do, let me know those as well. Sorry this took so long. I've just been really sick lately and I just didn't have time to do it. So I hope you want to hear more from me in the future, and I hope you all can be safe and don't have to deal with these kind of things. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.